During her formative years, she was at the tender age of 28. Throughout his recollections, he had consistently desired to have complete control over every aspect of his life, including his relationships. Consequently, when the time came to choose a life partner, Wyatt opted for the reserved and acquiescent Luna. Her parents upheld strict regulations, confining her to their predetermined boundaries. This inclination appealed to Wyatt, as Luna concurred with his viewpoints, never challenged him, and sought his counsel on matters relating to purchases and activities. It proved to be a convenient arrangement, and Wyatt genuinely appreciated having a spouse of this nature. However, Luna held contrasting sentiments. She had grown weary of this regimented lifestyle, yet struggled to comprehend any alternative way of living. Her friends would occasionally jest about her situation behind her back, while simultaneously condemning her husband for his behavior. Luna worked at a dance school, a profession she wholeheartedly enjoyed due to her genuine love for children. At the school, she held authority, and her pupils obeyed her commands, evoking a profound sense of satisfaction. The staff primarily comprised of women, thus the addition of a male member caused quite a stir. Jackson was younger than Luna by a span of 2 years. Despite his recent graduation, he juggled 2 jobs concurrently, one at the children's theater and the other in this place. Luna's coworkers made attempts to impress the new instructor, hovering around him, seeking assistance with basic tasks, and engaging in constant foolish laughter. Jackson, perplexingly, assisted them, but maintained a respectable distance and refrained from reciprocating any flirtation. Luna was well aware that if Wyatt discovered her male colleague, his anger would ignite. The possessive man would prohibit her from working here, consequently stripping her of opportunities for self-realization. After enduring 3 back-to-back practices, she was on her way home. Exhausted, she methodically stowed her gear in her locker, lost in her own musings. Her reverie was shattered by the buzzing of her phone. Without looking, Luna could guess who was calling. "Hi, sweetheart," she greeted warmly. "Hello," came Wyatt's familiar and comforting reply. Hearing her husband's voice was always a highlight of her day. "When will you be back?" he inquired. "Heading out now," she responded. They exchanged a few more words before Luna hung up, secured her locker, and made her way to the exit. On her route to the bus stop, she ran into Jackson. "Off home?" he queried succinctly. Luna gave a nod in return. She couldn't help but notice her new colleague's striking appearance. Symmetrical features, a well-built physique. The man moved with such grace and elegance that she often found herself inadvertently glancing at him. She had gleaned from others that Jackson was currently single, having recently navigated a tough breakup 6 months prior. Their exchanges had been limited to brief interactions in the lunchroom, hardly qualifying as conversations. "What bus are you taking?" the companion asked again. "Number 4, Luna responded, choosing her words carefully to signal her disinterest in further communication. They walked in silence to the bus stop, each waiting for their respective buses. Bidding farewell, Jackson left first, and she watched his bus pull away until it was out of sight. At home, her husband awaited her return. As usual, he bombarded her with questions about her day, and Luna obligingly recounted every detail. This had become a familiar pattern for her, yet there was one detail she always omitted: Jackson. Wyatt could never find out about him. The routine of walking together to the bus stop had become a long-standing custom for Jackson and Luna. On occasions when she saw her taciturn companion running late, Luna intentionally took her time with packing up. After a few weeks had passed, they started to engage in conversation. Initially, it was simply banter about their jobs, but gradually they began to disclose more private matters to one another. For Luna, it felt as though she had either known this man her whole life or had been eagerly anticipating his arrival. Jackson was a striking contrast to her husband, gentle and kind-hearted. He never probed her with unwelcome questions and treated her as an equal. Their coworker, Jackson, was quite the joker, often leaving Luna clutching her stomach in fits of laughter. This knack for humor was absent in Wyatt, her spouse. Unbeknownst to herself, Luna became increasingly attached to Jackson. When he first kissed her, it felt as though the entire world had been upended beneath her. In the blink of an eye, she had transformed from a dutiful and content wife into a betrayer. Right at that exact moment, Wyatt embarked on a business trip to the opposite side of the country, leaving him and his wife with limited means of communication through phone calls and frequent emails. In the evenings, he would ask his beloved to switch on the microwave and hear its prolonged squeak, assuring himself that Luna was back home and safe. Initially, he vehemently resisted this trip, but his superiors made it clear that it was either he went or he had to tender his resignation. He was unwilling to let go of his good job. So with a heavy heart, he boarded a plane and traveled 1,000 kilometers away from Luna. As a result, he lost a large degree of control over her. The woman understood that there might not be another opportunity quite like this. Her husband would eventually return, bringing back the constant sense of being under scrutiny. Every day she spent with Jackson, free from thoughts of Wyatt waiting for her at home, felt precious. Engaging in love with Jackson gave her an immense sense of liberation and utter bliss. The business trip seemed to drag on endlessly. With each conversation, Luna was consumed by guilt towards her husband. She was relieved their exchanges were mostly over the phone, sparing him a glimpse into her tormented emotions. Yet paradoxically, she felt a growing sense of freedom and liberation. The affection from her co-worker made her feel as though she was soaring on newfound wings. Wyatt sensed something was amiss, his fury simmering beneath the surface, but the miles between them rendered him powerless to fully rein in his wife. Upon learning that the business trip was wrapping up, he hastily snagged a ticket for the earliest flight home, his excitement robbing him of sleep through the night. When he finally dozed off in the early hours, he dreamt of his beloved laughing mockingly at him, hurling harsh words. Wyatt made the journey back with a heart laden with unease. The glow from the apartment windows signaled that Luna was back. The pangs of anxiety gnawed at him, and little did he realize that his gut feelings were more on point than he could have ever imagined. Unbeknownst to him, a surprise awaited Wyatt upon his arrival home. With a subconscious desire for stealth, he cautiously attempted to open the door. As he stood in his apartment, his ears strained to capture any discernible sounds. Initially, Wyatt heard nothing. Deciding not to remove his shoes, he began his investigation by peering into the kitchen before proceeding into the hallway. Finally, he reached the sacred space of their shared bedroom, only to be met with the unsettling sounds of muffled slaps and a male voice. His vision distorted, clouded with a simmering rage. The door swung open forcefully, revealing a sight that would ultimately haunt him in his nightmares. Stretched across their bed was an unfamiliar figure, while Luna perched on top of him. The absurd reaction from his lover rendered Wyatt speechless. However, anger triumphed, propelling him to forcefully eject the intruder, bombarding him with a barrage of blows. Upon returning to the bedroom, Luna was overcome with tears, her face hidden behind her trembling hands. Wyatt took a seat beside her, struggling to restrain himself from causing further trouble. Slapping her lover was one thing, but harming Luna was out of the question. He simply couldn't afford it, even after the recent events. "I've contacted your father," her husband uttered, breaking the silence. Luna choked on her sobs. "I've called your father. He'll be here soon," he reassured her. Wyatt intentionally maintained a composed and indifferent tone, concealing his inner pain. He never anticipated such betrayal from his beloved, making the situation particularly difficult. Following the divorce, they divided their shared apartment, and Luna relocated to another city with Jackson. Wyatt remained well informed about her activities. He surreptitiously monitored his ex-wife's social media, aware of her work, acquaintances, and leisurely pursuits. Secretly, he desired nothing but misfortune for Luna, yet something deep down told him otherwise. It took him 5 years to remarry, enduring a harrowing divorce in the process. Since then, he regarded docile, and easygoing women with a dissimilar perspective.